Visto che non posso buttare giù questo figlio di puttana, divertiamoci un po'.
So hey everybody, welcome in this newest video. So in today's video we're gonna talk about the Fighter Weapons School. Don't know what that is? It's literally the Top Gun. In this video we're taking a look at the history of the Top Gun, who goes in, and what's real and different in a 1986 movie. Let's start. To understand the whole history of the Top Gun, we need to get back to the 60s, in the midst of the Vietnam War. In those years, the US Navy was worried about the performance of its fighters, especially when compared to North Vietnamese MiG-17s and 21s. The data left no doubt. Navy's fighters had a 2.5 against 1 destroying ratio. This means that for every American fighter shot down by MiGs, the F-4s and F-8s shot down 2.5 MiGs. This could look like a knife ratio, but it's very low compared with the 14 against 1 ratio during World War II and a 12 to 1 ratio of the Korean War. To address the issue, US Navy commissioned the Captain Frank Holt an investigation to find out what was wrong with fighters, but Holt's report, published in January 1969, revealed that the issue was not the fighters, but who was making them fly: the pilots. In fact, the report highlighted the Marines' lack of skills in air combat, especially due to lack of specific tactical training on the field. This was such a big problem for the Navy that after the report decided to create a new fighting training program in March 1969, just a couple of months after Holt's report. The program officially started that same month in the Miramar Navy Air Base, along with the activity of the 121st Fighter Squadron. The idea was simple. Crews from everywhere in the Navy stayed in the Fighter Weapons School for 4 weeks, alias 1 month, to get theoretical and practical training to improve their air combat skills. Once they finished the program, the pilots had to share their new skills and knowledge to their colleagues. Since day one, everybody in the Navy called the school Top Gun. The results of the program weren't long in coming. In 1972, just a half-decade after its inception, the Top Gun had already raised the destroying ratio from 2.5 against 1 to a staggering 12.5 to 1, meaning that for every Marine shot down by MiGs, the F-4s shot down 12.5 MiGs. Initially, the Top Gun's fleet was made of Douglas A-4s and Northrop F-5s, but as aviation became better and better, so did the school. In the 70s and 80s, the F-14s and F-18s were introduced, whilst later the F-16s were added, so fights with the new Soviet aircraft Su-27 and MiG-29 could be simulated. But the reason we all know the Top Gun is the 1986 namesake movie, starring Tom Cruise as Pete Maverick Mitchell, a young aviator who is sent to the Fighter Weapons School after an insubordination against his superior. As you're all aviation fans, or at least I think so, you've probably seen the movie. If not, do it, what are you waiting for? Let's talk about who goes in now. The Top Gun does not include veterans or old and expert aviators, unless as instructors, because it's a program focused on the growth of the best and most promising aviators in the Army, especially from the US Navy, so the ones who operate on the aircraft carriers, so they can perfect the air combat skills. Keep that in mind, we're talking about the elite, the best of the best, and the selection for the Top Gun is way stricter than you can even imagine, and it's even harder to have a seat in the school. Okay, now the part you've all been waiting for. What's true in the 1986 movie Top Gun, and what's not? We'll start with the wrong things. Of course, disclaimer, if you've never seen the movie, skip this part because you get a lot of spoilers, and no, I'm not talking about the ones you find on the wings. Now let's start with the most obvious. In the movie, we can see that Maverick falls in love with astrophysicist Charlotte Blackwood. Of course, this couldn't happen in real life because it's a military school, and it's quite difficult that a trainee will have a personal relationship with a higher level officer. Another fake thing is the aircraft MiG-28. It doesn't and cannot exist, as MiG Navy displays with all the numbers 15, 17, 19, 21 and so on, the last one being MiG-21. So in the movie, Tony Scott chose to use Northrop F-5s, also former aircraft of Top Gun, and a T-38 Talon. But of course there are two things too. The Aggressor Squadron, which is literally a squadron made of targets, truly exists, just like the G-Force training. the actors and actresses actually flew so the G-forces could be perfectly displayed. This was the story of the Top Gun made by Vision. I hope I said enough things to give you knowledge, and I hope that if any of you didn't know the story, he or she now does. As always, smash the like button, subscribe, leave a comment if you liked, and with all that said, see ya in the next one.